Okay, July garden walkthrough. What we have here is my latest configuration for my milk crate garden. What you see here are mainly herbs, although that tall one, that double decker, has got sweet potatoes growing in it. That's a new addition of mine. So moving further in, you can see this dense jungle, seemingly overgrown and not so much indicative of horticulture. But what we have here is a green mulch, a green growing mulch of scurvy weed, which seems to be taking over the place. In fact, it almost has done that. But we're amongst all that, in patchwork systems, I am growing vegetables. Some in cardboard as a mulch covering, and some in weed mat. This way I have a permanent supply of mulch coming from the scurvy weed, and I just have to create little areas where I want to grow my vegetables. It seems to work. It's very low maintenance, and I got to say that when it comes to scurvy weed, the weed you know is better than the weed you don't know. And the scurvy weed displaces all the other weeds that can be problematical, those with highly developed root systems. Because when you look at scurvy weed, here's a sample here, I go down there, it's easy to pick up. You just root it out and it becomes a mulch because it's so shallow rooted. Suits me fine. The other element in the garden, of course, of long-standing are my aerials, which are not much in use at the moment because I'm not growing that many climates or ramblers. But usually in winter, beg your pardon, in summer, I have this covered with a whole lot of climates, which shades the garden quite well and it gives me plenty of space rather than having running all over the beds. Further down along here, here's another thing. What we see here is cor tucuda, which is Portuguese kale, Portuguese cabbage. The other element in the garden is the use of vetiver. I've got clumps of vetiver in the garden, hopefully strategically located, so that I can draw up nutrients and moisture from the soil below, since vetiver is so deep rooted. That vetiver services the surrounding plants, and as it consolidates, it creates a sort of hydraulic pump pulling on the ingredients or the goodness that's below the soil and sharing it. In some locations, here, like here, I'm growing tomatoes over the vetiver and using the vetiver as a support trellis. Works quite well. The vetiver's so hardy it doesn't really matter that much to its stuff. Good example of the weed mat, this time spring onions. And I could go for all the various plants, but it's very hard to distinguish this from the rest of the scurvy weed. Alright, so there you go. And here is my seed raising beds, ready to go, with waiting for a recent harvest. Looks like there's radishes in the foreground, looks like I should plant those out. And I've got some carrots in there too, which will be very useful. So yeah, that's what I've got for the time being to show.